logging in and making sure that I see who all's on. So thanks for joining me this afternoon. I see a bunch of folks. We've got 11 folks on. Some of you have enabled your audio pins and some of you have not. Just so we all remember that I can't call on you to answer a question and unmute you if you don't use the audio pin feature. So if you're listening at your computer and you're using the speakers, that's fine, but just know that unless you have a mic, that's not going to work. So you can type in questions. It makes it a little bit more challenging for me because I'm sitting here by myself today, so I don't have anybody helping out with the questions. But in any event, those of you who are on and you use your audio pin, you've got the ability to raise your hand as we're going through this, and I'm hoping that you will. So without further ado, we will get started. There have been a lot of back and forth with Erica and Tina and others, so I know that you all are anxious for kind of a refresher on the RAD resource desk for Readiness TMs, and so that's what we're going to do. I'm going to spend some time just kind of reminding you about things, how things work, showing you what different people are seeing, and then we'll open things up for questions at the end. Obviously, as we've done before, if you have questions, raise your hand. I'm looking right at the screen so I can stop and let you all ask questions, etc. If you don't have your audio pin, you can type something in, and I will definitely read that out. So I'm on the resource desk. I know you all are familiar with it because you've been doing all your kickoff calls and doing lots of work. So I'm going to log in as a transaction manager like you all have been doing. And everyone's familiar with this page. First thing I want to point out is there are some reports that are starting to pop up. These reports are associated with your various transactions, so it gives you a sense of what's going on. This RAD and application chat status report is actually getting ready to go away. We're replacing it with a new RAD status report, so that one will be gone. But these give you some general overviews of where your portfolios are, as well as where the general RAD program is. So you'll see some new reports coming in here. The exception report will be a good one for everyone to use to kind of clean up any issues that they're having on data as things move forward. So in this particular case, I don't have any emails, but if I did, I would click here. This would be where you would go to get an email that was sent to you from a PHA directly. And we're going to talk a little bit about emails because I know that's been a hot topic, so we'll talk about that in a minute. But this is where you would get to. And just so that we all know, the PHAs, when they log in, see this same, virtually this same screen. They have a PHA libraries, they have documents, they can get to the knowledge base, they have a mail system, they have some reports. So same sort of thing for them, so they see it the same way. So let's go take a look at a transaction that's getting worked through with Hampton, Virginia is the one I'm going to take a look at. It is a transaction that Erica is actually moving through. She's the Readiness Transaction Manager on it, but I am the Financing TM, so I can actually see both the Readiness TM work, and then I'll also be able to see the Financing TM work when that starts up. But this, again, this page should be familiar with to all of you. This is the PHA main page, and you can see that Erica held a kickoff call on the 23rd of June. For some reason, she decided to date it in May. This is a field that you all can populate. Maybe we shouldn't have given the ability to do that. But we certainly can find out when the exact date was, and we could change that. But anyway, today's date is usually pre-populated when you click on the button, so that's what I would normally do to do this. This side, just as a reminder, this is what goes to the PHA. The check-in correspondence summary is what goes to the PHA. They cannot see the Readiness TM comments. We've got the HUD use only in parentheses here to remind everybody of that. But this is not seen by the PHA. Jaime, you've got a question right out of the box.
Okay, thanks, Robert.
Yep.
And thanks for doing this.
Yep.
So if I never even noticed that there was on the prior screen the check mail system button, but if somebody had sent me an email, would it be showing up right there on that screen we were just on?
So I've just gone back to it, and right here it would say it would tell you that there's an email for you, and I'm going to log in.
I know, but my question is on the screen you just left, the screen that has the chronology and the history. So I'm saying if I hadn't paid any attention to this in your prior training, or I'd forgotten about it, and I'm looking at the Hampton screen here, and if I had entered the first email, which was the kickoff call,
and if Ronald Jackson sent an email response to you to the check-in correspondence, yes.
Okay, so if I hit view history, I'd see anything that had been sent to me, and I wouldn't need to go to the other place.
Well, this is what I'm clarifying. He has the ability to respond directly to your check-in correspondence, and that would come in here. And so if you clicked on view history, you would see the history of the check-in correspondence emails. He could send you another email outside of this that would not have shown up there. So say he just wants to send you a general email, and this screen's just way too big, but just say he wanted to send you a general email about something else. He has a question that he wants to ask just specifically to you. He doesn't want to ask the resource desk. Then it would not show up in the check-in correspondence. It would show it only in the email.
Okay, that's helpful enough. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. But yes, you're correct. So if he had sent an email, then basically the email history would show up, and you'd see everything that's been done on this transaction. So in this case, there's only one email, but they'd be separated by the person who sent it. So you see Erica's name's here. So the next email, if it started above that, Ronald's name would be on there.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Good. Perfect. Thank you for that. I'm going to lower your hand. So Jaime and others have also asked this question while we're talking about the email. So the question has been asked, can you send attachments with the email? And the answer is that no, you can't send attachments. And just so that we all understand what's actually happening here, this is not an email like you think of Outlook, right? So this is when you hit send email button, and maybe we should rename it, when you type in here and you send an email, Ronald Jackson and everybody else that he's designated as receiving emails is going to get notified that he has an email on the RAD resource desk. The email itself doesn't go to him. He has to go, and just like you have done to send the email, he has to go and log in to the resource desk, and he will see on that first page that he has a check-in correspondence email. He can then click on that email there, read it, reply to it if he wants to, or mark it as read and move on. Okay? So there's so attaching something to that is not something that we can do. What we have talked about, and Jaime, thank you for sending along some examples of what you were thinking. What I have heard, and I'm happy to take any questions or talk through this with folks, the things that I have seen or heard from people wanting to quote unquote attach are all things that ought to live on the resource desk. So one of the things that we've talked about internally is adding the ability for Readiness Transaction Managers to upload a document. But it doesn't make sense to upload a document that already lives on the resource desk. So one of the things that we have been talking about is making it easier to find things. So maybe that we can, and I'm going to skip back so that we can kind of talk through this together. Finding things is clearly a challenge for a lot of people. And so one of the things that we're thinking about doing is modifying this document library to first and foremost, at the very top here, have a knowledge base. This searches everything on the resource desk. The notice, Q&As, documents that are posted, anything that's out there is getting searched. And I think that's probably too much. And in the example of the documents that Jaime sent over that he would like to be attaching to an email, things like the closing, end-of-year procedures for closing. That sort of thing should live on the resource desk. It should be in the document library. If it's not, we need to get it up there. And so Leanne and I were just talking about making sure that those go up immediately when those go out. But then maybe having a search up here that would just search the documents themselves. So if you were looking for something relating to closings, while we have a closing section down here, maybe we have the ability to do a search at the top where you're just looking for closings. Also, maybe there's a way to break up all these documents to different stages of the process. So maybe instead of having this laundry list of things, we could have a blue bar that says, you know, initial stage of RAD conversion, financing plan, closing, and then when you expanded those, documents related to those various subsections would come up. Again, that capability does exist in the searching of the knowledge base, but maybe it is a little bit too clunky. And so we've all scattered to the four winds this afternoon to kind of come back and think about ways that would make that easier for everybody to do and find things a little bit more quickly, because this is clearly a little bit too much of a challenge for folks, and I totally see that and agree. But just so that we're answering the question and talking through this, attaching emails, this is not actually an email, it's a notification of an email that's gone out. So there's nothing that you could attach here. So I would appreciate it if folks thought about it, and if people do want the ability to upload a document, we can certainly add something where you all can upload documents as readiness transaction managers that the PHA can see. But I'm just wondering whether or not we would rather not have people uploading documents that are already on the resource desk and just taking up more and more space. So that's a thought on that front. So again, I'm picking on Erica because she and I share this transaction, but the check-ins correspondence went out, and she's taken some notes here and written things below, so that's good. We've also got the kickoff date populated. This is where you all need to be populating your kickoff dates. I think most everybody is doing that and has done that. A couple of other questions in here that you're going to want to have answered as you move forward. And then the property summary. So these are the main items. Again, these are the main items that we've talked about in the scripts and other times that really need to be covered, not just in the kickoff call, but moving forward. You know, is this transaction contemplating FHA insurance? Because if they are, there are certain steps that need to be done. Maybe they've changed their mind, they were, and now they're not. So you unclick that button. So it gives you, as the Readiness Transaction Manager, a snapshot of what's going on, the various hot button items, things that need to be accomplished, all with the goal to getting the readiness checklist completed. The PHAs can see this. They cannot change it. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they said, so how would you use this? Would you be filling this out now as you go through, or would you be waiting until some more time has passed? I don't think that anybody yet knows what the best solution for that is. It's certainly designed so that if you wanted to be checking these boxes as you go along, for example, they haven't ordered the PCA yet, so you check no for the time being, and then you're going to come back and change that to yes when they finally order it. That's fine. You can hit the update button at the bottom, and that will save all of the changes, so you're not going to lose anything. So I don't know. For me, I think that the current guidance would be, for the first couple of months anyway, if you don't have a PHA that's really moving quickly to financing plan, that just filling this out is probably adequate to what you're doing. So I just wanted to talk through that at the moment. Also, there's been a number of questions about what the PIH folks can see. And so here you see we've added this button with the PIH summary. So if I click there, it takes me to the page that the PIH staff, when they log in, you know, I just showed you what you saw when you clicked on My PHA Libraries. You go to your Readiness TM page and you select your property. They also select their property, but then they come directly to this page. Okay? So then they are able to put in their comments. You can read them. As you see, I'm logged in here as a TM. I can see that Robert Davenport, who is the primary reviewer on this, has not written in any comments, but if he had, they would be here. he can, similarly, he can see the comments that Erica has written as the Readiness TM, but he can't update them or change them. But there are a number of things that they will need to be doing and moving through the process, including the approval of the non-dwelling units. There's some question as to whether they're going to do these two, but we've not had some final conversations with the public housing folks, so I don't know whether the field office will be the ones doing this or not, but at the moment, this is what's being populated. But here, importantly, what's going on with their annual plan or significant amendment to the annual plan? They need to be filling this out. They need to be uploading the approval documents. This is something that's going to be very important for them to be doing as this moves towards financing plan. If there had been conditions in the CHAP, they'd be here. They could then say whether the CHAP provisions were PHA specific or property specific. I can't make that change since I'm not the PHA person, but they can select those, whether it's property specific or PHA specific. They can say that. Okay. This is a nice feature which we're actually adding probably tonight or tomorrow on the PIH summary page. They can see all of the people that are assigned to this transaction. When I pop back over here to the PHA summary page, which is what you as a Readiness transaction manager see, you don't have that same feature, so we're actually adding that. So you'll be able to see who the public housing contacts are, so that you don't need to be flipping through and looking at those pages. You'll see it immediately when you log in. All right. Then the other place, and we've looked at this before, but I just wanted to remind folks, if I click on the property itself, this is where I get to the various documents that are either being posted by the Public Housing Authority as they get ready for their financing plan, or that you may or may not want to see. For example, application. All of the application documents for this transaction are underneath this tab. So all you have to do is click on this title, and the list is expanded, and you can see everything that's there. Okay? CHAPs. There have been some questions about CHAPs and CHAP amendments. So here is where the original CHAP lives. If there has been an amendment done, then that would be populated in the next line. Okay? Any other related documents related to the CHAPs, for example, in earlier round 1 transactions, there were revocation warning letters that the transaction managers wanted to post. We put those in this area. So that's where you would see this sort of thing. Okay? Then, obviously, the goal of the Readiness TM job is to get your PHAs to be able to submit the financing plan, and to that end, here is where the PHAs will start uploading all the information for the financing plan. We are getting ready to roll out the financing plan guide and a variety of documents, templates that are going to go with these. There have been some questions, I know, from some of the PHAs that are in the process right now. Where are these documents? They're coming. We're in final review on these documents, and so hopefully they'll be starting to be populated shortly. There are some that are up there now, and there are others that aren't, but hopefully they'll all start being populated very soon, and they'll be able to start loading documents up. The way that they do that, just so you all are reminded, they would click. They do not get the HUD review button, obviously, but they would get the upload files button, and then they can come down and select the document that they're going to be uploading, and then upload the document that way. Okay? So that is that piece. Go back to my property list. What else? Okay, so I wanted to, since there have been so many questions about what do people see, I wanted to just log in as a public housing authority primary contact. So here are your, the folks that you're talking to on the phone. And this is, again, using the Hampton, Virginia example that Erica is processing. All right. So I am Ronald Jackson now, and I'm logging on to the resource desk. And like I said, this is very similar to what you see when you log in. The difference being that since he is the PHA primary, there's one person from the public housing authorities that's designated as the primary contact. He is the one that can provide access to other users, other PHA users. that will work with him, consultants, his staff, that sort of thing. So if I was one of his staff, I would not have that primary portal. I'll click on that in a minute. But I would have the PHA library, the document library, and depending on what access I gave him, I may or may not see the mail. But here you'll see that Erica sent this check-in correspondence, and he has not marked it as read. So which tells me that either he doesn't know how to use the system or has gone there and looked at it and decided to not mark it read for whatever reason. I'm not going to mess with that because I don't want to change the status of what he's doing since this is live. But just so you all see, this is where he's notified that he has new mail. Okay. So as Jaime asked earlier, if he hadn't been notified that he had new mail, he is going to see it when he goes and looks at the PHA summary page here. So again, here is the check-in correspondence summary. He can click on View History, and it will eventually come up. But again, you do not see the Readiness TM comments. Okay, so we're not seeing the comments from the other page that we had. You're seeing basically just general information about his transaction. Like you have, he can also look at the checklists that have been going through the process. He can pull up the readiness checklist and click on that and see whatever's been populated, but he can't make any changes to any of these. You can see they're all blanked out. He can see the status, but he can't make any changes. I don't know why my history's not loading up properly, but I'm not that concerned about it. This thing's acting slow today for some reason. It may be this Chrome browser. I don't know what you all have been using. I have found that Chrome works okay. I found Mozilla to work better, but IE doesn't work as well as we had hoped. We are making some changes on the back end, just so you know, so that hopefully it'll be more compatible with Internet Explorer. Those would hopefully be rolled out in the next couple of days. So that's what we're going to shoot for. All right, I've got a question here. Reggie's asking me something about the PHA summary page. Open this up and see what the full question is. All right. How should we utilize the production call update section on the PHA summary page? All right. Reggie, let me see if I can see where you are looking. If I'm back on the summary page, I'm logged in as a kid. I'll come back to that in a second. Let me finish just this quick look through, and then we'll go back to that page, because I did want to show you what things look like here. So again, the same sort of click-throughs that you have, they have. Again, they can go to the PIH summary page and see what's going on with the status of their things. They cannot see they can't see the comments. They can see comments that are written to them about these various items, but they can't see any internal HUD comments. Okay, we've got then on the milestones, just to finish this off, the HUD review button is gone. They can click on the upload file section, and here again, they can see the comments that you all, that the financing TMs will write to them about each section. They can't overwrite them, and then they can make comments and go back and forth. So this has been very successful in previous transactions, so we're hoping that this will be successful for them as well moving forward. But again, that's where they would go to log in things and ask their questions and do that sort of thing. So let's log off of this and log back in and see if I can get to Reggie's question. All right, I'm logging back in as a transaction manager. All right, I'm back as a transaction manager, and I am opening up and going back to my Hampton transaction. So Reggie, I'm not entirely sure what your question is related to. I guess here we go. For clarity, it's the page you see once you click the property name. Okay. So when I click the property name, you should not be typing anything in the production call notes, because this is for this page is what the financing transaction managers see. This is where they start their work. Okay? So you as a readiness transaction manager will not do anything in here because technically it's not in production yet. Production is once they have created a financing plan and are moving through that process. So these production call updates will be provided by the financing transaction manager. So what you as a readiness TM focus on is the PHA summary page and providing the check-in correspondence and any notes that you need to be doing here. Okay? So hopefully, Reggie, that gets you what you need. Perfect. Thank you. All right. There we go. So that was the major part of what I wanted to cover, and it's taken about as long as I thought it was going to take. There were a couple of other kind of general questions that I know that you all had, and I saw an email with some procedures about CHAP withdrawals, CHAP amendments, and waivers. And I just wanted to touch on those really quickly. And I think Greg's on the phone too, so if he wants to chime in, I'm happy for him to do that. So Greg, I'm going to unmute you. So Greg, you're unmuted. On the CHAP withdrawals, PHAs that want to withdraw, and it's written up in these guidelines that I saw Erica send around, PHAs need to send in a letter and an email stating the PIC number, the project name, and what they want to, and that they want to withdraw. That can come into the rad@hud.gov email box. It can come through you as a readiness TM, whatever works, but it needs to come into the rad@hud.gov email box at some point in time so that we can then process that and get that CHAP withdrawn. So it shouldn't be that big of a problem. On CHAP amendments, I've seen a number of different things, and I do like these procedures whereby the PHA is going to submit something in writing about what they want to change. I don't necessarily think that for all CHAP amendments it has to be that formalized. For example, if in the course of the conversation, and I'm going to open up the PHA summary page here, and I'm going to say, if in the course of the conversation it turns out that the number of units, they're going through the PIC removal process, and the number of units are wrong, and they've notified the SAC, and they're getting things cleared up, and they need a CHAP amendment to get the unit count corrected and the proper configurations put in place. There doesn't need to be a formal email from the PHA on that. They are already doing that with the SAC. You can just send an email to the rad@hud.gov email box, giving the PHA name, the PIC number, and what the units need to be, and we can process a CHAP amendment from that. Other things that they're trying to do, commingling properties, utility configuration changes, certainly rent, if they're going to get an RCS and try and get higher rents, that sort of thing, that would definitely need to come in through the process that's described here, i.e. through the PHA, on their letterhead, that sort of thing. On the waiver front, again, I think that what's written here is perfectly adequate. Submitting on their letterhead comes in, and the waivers get approved. I think that works really well. So I don't see any reason why that would need to change. Jaime, you're up.
Yes, sir. You referred to getting rent changed with an RCS. What is an RCS?
So a rent comparability study.
Okay.
So in PBRA conversions, the PHA has the ability to potentially get their rent. Again, it's the lesser of their contract rents, so they can, if they're not able to get the rents that they want, and the market rents are higher, they can get a rent comparability study to show that. Then they can bump their rents up a little bit. It happens very rarely. So you would have to have started. You'd have to have started in a hole to then come out of that. that make sense?
Okay.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. Other questions, comments, concerns, enhancements? We're more than happy to make some other changes. I see Zoe's hand. Zoe.
Hey, thanks for having this. This is really helpful. A couple of things. There's a few places where there's like a toggle down bar, like in that pre-development section, that it never saves the toggle. Like if you go to the pre-development section and it asks if you have your development team in place, it never saves it when I select yes or no or NA.
So if I go to pre-development, right here,
and toggle down on the development team question.
Right here.
Yep.
And I say yes.
And then save.
Yep.
It always disappears.
Look at that. All right.
So
excellent. I will get that fixed.
That's been driving me nuts. And then on the property summary page, I never know what kind of, in terms of I mean, these things change, like, it seems like a lot. And then are you talking in like the CFFP and OFFP toggle down? Is that what's there now? And then the RHF, is that if they're planning on using that for the future? Or I guess I never know what to write for these. Like, okay, they do have an existing CFFP, but they're planning on using RHF. Like, is that what I'm supposed to be reflecting there?
So CFFP, OFFP, and EPC, absolutely. If they have that now, you need to say yes. Okay. Same thing with RHF and ARHF. If they have that now and they're planning on using it in their transaction, you need to say yes to that.
Okay. Okay. All right. That is helpful. One other thing that has been an issue on my other transactions in my other hat, but also I have a feeling is going to come up again, if a PHA goes and uploads a bunch of things to the financing plan section when they're ready, but they realize, oh, that's wrong, they've never been able to delete that or remove it.
They can't delete. They can upload another one, and then they can send. Then the financing plan TM can send us a note and say, yeah, you really need to delete that. But they can't. We do not allow deleting from the resource desk, since it is permanent. We don't trust anybody to have that capability. So okay. if they make a mistake, then it's going to be there. The more recent one is on top. You can look. You've worked on other transactions, Zoe. So I know you know this. But for example, the classic is the PCA. Some of these transactions have got
like
30 PCAs loaded up, and that's fine. That's the way it is. HUD wants to keep. Yeah, HUD wants to keep that administrative record, and we have just found that deleting has been a bad idea. People make mistakes, and then we get an email back saying, "Oh my gosh, I've deleted this, and how do I get it back?" So we can't do that.
Okay, good to know. Okay, and then sorry to keep pestering you, but I've been holding off. The final question is about the readiness checklist button. Yep. So because I've been talking a lot about the readiness checklist on my kickoff calls, and so I've had a lot of people say, what is this readiness checklist? It's not described in the notice. It's not described in any of the guides. So I have actually been sending PHAs the screenshot. Like, I've basically been printing this readiness checklist tab to PDF and sending it to them. Is that not okay, or is that okay?
Well, I mean, I would, so of course it's okay. That's the first answer. The second answer, they can see it, so they don't need to have.
Can they see it?
Yes. Yeah, I
didn't know if they could see it.
Yeah, when I logged in as Ronald Jackson a minute ago.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, they can't make any changes to it, but they can see it.
Okay, you know what? Because I'm also dealing with a lot of like I'm on a call and there'll be like 5 different people from the housing authority or their consultants, and not everybody is accessing the resource desk. And when I say the resource desk, they think of it as something different.
Well, and so just to finish the thought, Zoe, and thanks for bringing this up. The other thing about the readiness checklist is it's really it's a tool for the readiness TM. Yeah. That we felt like would be useful to share with the PHAs, but the PHAs don't really have anything to do with it. It's your tool to determine whether you, as a readiness TM, think that this PHA is ready to submit their financing plan.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's the way you need to couch it, because there are questions in there that they may or may not be able to answer, and it could be confusing to them to say, well, how would I know that?
Right. Yeah. So, sorry. And then so say we've completed this and it's done. We're done with our readiness checklist. We hit update checklist. It's saved. And then how does it basically then get translated to like point to HUD saying, okay, it's time for you to be assigning a financing transaction manager,
right.
or
so,
queuing up.
Perfect. So I think this is that procedure for that has not been finalized, but the idea is that you would hit that print button into a PDF and you would send it to the branch chief, and the branch chief would agree with you, and then that would then be forwarded along, and everyone would say, yes, you're ready to go, and the PHA would be notified that they can start moving forward. So we are thinking about adding some sort of a date, but right now, and there's a place on the financing plan for the readiness checklist to be uploaded.
Okay.
So that would certify, that would then kind of start the process going forward. But you're right, we need to nail that down. But that's the idea right now.
Yeah, just because we have a bunch of PHAs that are like very anxious to submit, their financing plans and get ahead of schedule. So.
Sure. Good. Yep. All right, you've got the floor. So you got anything else before I move on to somebody else?
No, I mean, other than do you think that branch chief assigning, or is that assigning happening now, or do you think that'll take a while to assign a new financing plan, financing TM?
I do not think it will take long. No.
Okay.
No. I think if you've got somebody that is that close, I think you need to let Erica and Greg and Leslie and to let know, and they should start ready. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. All right. If you have something else, just raise your hand again. I'll call on you. But I'm going to move on to the next gang here. So I've got Shelly's at the top of the list. Shelly.
Hi, Robert. How are you?
Great, Shelly. How are you?
Good. Thanks so much for doing this. It's been very helpful.
No problem.
Thanks. And my question was actually very much in the same line as Zoe on her last question, and so you've answered most of it. But given Greg's memo about trying to close by the end of the year, I've had several PHAs who are trying to close, of course, by the end of November so that they can get their half contract date December 1 so that they can start having the, rent start January 1st. So if you start backing that up based on Greg's memo, that means that they need to get their financing plans in by August 18th, more or less.
Yep.
So just wanted to echo what Zoe had said, is that there will be I don't even know if it's a significant number, but there will be a number of PHAs that will be completing their financing plans in the next, 2, 3, or 4 weeks. And so I just wanted to start asking if we could start getting notice about the process of who's going to be the financing PM, and if there's anything like, are we going to be having a, like a one-on-one call with that PM once they've reviewed the materials to make sure if they have any questions, because I know some things can get lost in the shuffle over email even.
No, I think, Shelley, you're absolutely right. I think that you should be alerting, Greg and let folks know that you've got, here's where we are with this one. It's going to be coming in the next couple of weeks. I've gone through the readiness checklist, and they are absolutely ready to go. And I think that would be a great thing, because so if you think about it, the readiness checklist was meant to be done 60 days prior to the financing plan coming in. So if you've got somebody who's that close, then you should be completing that readiness checklist, printing it out, and sending it in and saying, okay, Decatur, Georgia is ready. And then that will allow HUD to say, okay, here we go, and the financing TM will be X. And I totally agree with you. I think a call is going to be much better. I mean, granted, you all, over time, the readiness TM comments may grow into something that's useful, but certainly this quickly, I think a call will be, a handoff call will be most in order.
Okay, great. And just to clarify again, because I'm putting on my Tapestry hat right now, because we have our own clients outside of this enterprise contract. So I was on a kickoff call this week with another TM, a HUD staff person TM, who was saying that once we get the PCA, completed, that we should go ahead and upload it even prior to the financing plan so that she can review it. And which I'm happy she's going to do. That's great. But I'm just
You should not have said that.
Okay, just wanted to clarify again. That's not our role as a readiness.
You should not have said that. No, exactly.
Okay.
I think I've got Greg here. Greg, you there? Greg? I thought he has his hand raised, and I've got his mic. So anyway, I was going to let him chime in on that too, Shelley. But and I will definitely circle back with him and get follow up on that. But I don't believe that should be offered. We've had this conversation I know you and I have had this conversation many times, but I don't think that should not be universally offered. So I'll follow up with Greg, and we'll get back to you on that.
Okay, very good. And if there is any change, because that's my understanding, is that our role as a readiness team is not to provide that service.
Correct.
So if something changes, just let us know.
Yep, I will.
Okay.
So Greg, I see you raised your hand again, and I do have you unmuted, but I can't hear you, unfortunately. So the way that this is showing up is that you've got a mic on your computer, and I don't believe that's the case. So anyway. All right, Shelley, thank you. Anything else, Shelley, before I move on?
I'm all good. Thank you.
Thanks, Shelley. Jaime. Jaime?
So you're on for me. Yes, thanks. So I'm sure I'm doing something wrong procedurally, but maybe you can point out the error of my ways. So I enter check-in correspondence comment, and I hit send email.
Yep.
And now I want to go to another one of my properties and enter a comment. And so, this is probably the error of my way, but I would go to the upper left-hand corner and hit the back arrow.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah, because when I do that, then the email that I was sending and had sent reappears in the check-in correspondence summary box.
Yeah, I wouldn't do. So what I would do, just the email. When you hit the send email button, you get a screen that says the email went.
That's right.
Right. So there's no danger that it didn't go. But the easiest way to navigate is to just go back to the RAD RD home at the top, which I'm doing now, and just go back through here and start over again. Click on your PHA libraries. I mean, I know it's cumbersome, but that's the safest way to move through this.
Well, there you go. You answered my question.
Okay, good. Anything else?
That's good. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Jaime. Rosa.
Yeah, hi. How are you?
Fine. How are you?
Good. I'm glad my mic is working. So I arrived a few minutes late, but I'm hoping I didn't miss sort of the punchline of what I wanted to sort of figure out, which is whether or not the PHA or the PIH field office person gets an email notification when the check-in summary email is sent. Because when I'm going back and checking with either one, they have like no clue that there's an email waiting for them to read because they're not sort of getting like a ping on their registered email address.
So and we've had this problem with a couple of PHAs and certainly a couple of PIH staff. So I would recommend that you just have them reach out to us, reach out to me. That should not be happening. They are, we've had a couple of issues with a couple of PHA addresses, but we're not having any problem with the public housing field office staff getting these. So they are either just not understanding what's happening or not checking the right place. But luckily, so far, knock on wood, those have not been going into spam. The HUD system doesn't kick those back. Some of the PHA folks have weird email addresses, and so we've had to work more closely with some of them. So just have them let us know, and we can make that happen.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. Yeah, because yeah, okay, that works. I will do that. And then once the CHAP, the request to revoke the CHAP or to withdraw from the program is sent to the rad@hud.gov email address, when does that actually get reflected on the RAD resource desk so that it's sort of off our dockets?
Pretty quickly. I mean, we try and do it as fast as we can, but there are only 3 of us doing it, so it's just a matter of somebody has to get the email, and then one of us has to go and do it. So certainly within a day or two, it should come off.
Oh, and so what will I see on my end? Do I see anything?
Nothing. You won't have the transaction anymore. It'll be withdrawn.
Oh, so it won't even show up on my list of PHAs anymore.
I'll have to double check with that, Rose, on how we handled round 2, because round 1 it would have shown up on your PHAs, but it would have shown up as withdrawn, and I think we may have changed that. But I can double check that and see how it shows up. for you.
Yeah, I'm just sort of curious because I know that when Eric and Tina went through my list of PHAs over the weekend, they're like, hey, you didn't, do minutes for these two housing authorities. I was like, well, I thought they were withdrawn.
So here's the problem with that. So that's a different problem. So the problem that we had, because I worked on that over the weekend, the problem we were having was those reports were being generated off of all of round 2 applications that are on the resource desk, not the active ones. So we've changed that, and so that filter's changed, and so the withdrawn ones are off that list now. Withdrawn and closed are off that list. Yep.
Oh, awesome. Okay, cool.
Yep.
And then if the housing authority, I know, we're doing everything through the resource desk. If they want to send me an email and ask me an additional question, how do they do that through the resource desk? Because I don't know what they see, and I know you went through what they do see, but I just want to double check and make sure I understand how they're sending me emails.
So they have 2 ways to do it. One way they could ask, the best thing to do is for them to search the resource desk first to see if the answer's there.
Yeah.
They can ask it, so they can. I'm flicking on it now. So they can ask a question here. If it's general or if it's policy or something that they want to ask. If they truly want to ask you a question, then they can click on the Access Mail system, and that will let them send an email to you.
Oh, okay, good. Okay.
So, and that goes to one of the things that Jaime asked about earlier, which was, the difference between an email, general email, and one specific to the check-in correspondence. So if I create an email from here, if I'm a PHA and I create an email from here, it's just going to go into your regular access email section that you have as well. So you'll see an email here, as opposed to on the PHA library section where I'm looking at the check-in correspondence. Those emails are tagged for just the check-in correspondence. So it'll show up both places, but these emails won't. They'll show up just here.
Okay, cool.
That makes sense?
Yep, that totally makes sense. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. All right, Greg, unfortunately, I see that your hand is up, and I have you unmuted, but I can't seem to hear you. So I'm sorry about that. I don't know why. But I don't have any other hands raised, and I don't have any other questions. So this is the going, gone moment. Hopefully this was helpful for everybody, and I think Eric and I talked a little bit last week about potentially doing another one of these in a couple of weeks, just to make sure everybody's kind of getting things moving through properly. Certainly this was a nice time. You all are deep into this, and I know because I see all the activity, so I know people are using things and doing things, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. If there's some enhancements that you want made, thanks to Zoe for the toggle button issue on the development team, we'll get that fixed. Let us know. The file attachment thing, I'm sorry that it didn't, it's not capable exactly the way you wanted it, but hopefully we have a solution in the searching the resource desk for that, and some of the reorganization we're going to do in the next day or so you'll see that. So circle back with us. We take all criticism as constructive, so please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Okay? All right. I don't see any more hands, no new hands. So we're going to stop the recording. This will be posted if you want to listen to it again, and there is the earlier refresher that's up there as well. So thanks again, and have a great rest of your day.